everybody, Dawn Kendrick here with some good news. And the good news is that you're only going to hear good news here. I am a repurposed news reporter, and I am finally doing the stories that have been burning in my heart for so long. They're stories that uplift, encourage, and inspire, and they are real, and they're raw, and they're vulnerable. They're the good stuff stories, and we see it over and over again that through it all, through the middle of our biggest challenges, together we can, together we will. Let's go see the good and be the good. On your mark, get set, let's go. Welcome to the best part of waking up is waking up, where we celebrate the art of gratitude. That's why we come together on Friday mornings here to chat it out live, the things that set our heart on fire during the week, the stories that are going to be coming up every Monday that we drop here, the profiles that we do on people who are living, breathing examples of God at work. So we're glad you're here with us this morning. Rich Smith, my tech guru extraordinaire friend, godsend friend, joining us again this morning. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, Don. Good morning, good stuff family. How is everyone doing today? Hope it's well.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's good for me. I'm off to a good start. I'm realizing honestly that getting up earlier, like just before the sun comes up, I love it. I love it. And I don't know, is that a sign we're getting older?
No, I think it means that.
And then we have lunch. Yeah.
It's the
What'd
first
you say?
race you win. It's the first race you win in the morning, right?
Right. But you know that old adage, how then next thing you know, you're having lunch by 10:30 and dinner at 4.
Yeah.
Sleep by 8.
Sounds like
yeah, I
life
feel
to
like
me.
much more productive. So thank you for joining us. We have a lot to get to this morning. I want to start, if we could, by bringing in my new friend, Keith Johnston. He's with Run2BWell. And if you were listening, if you had a chance to hear the God at Work series that dropped this past Monday, he was the centerpiece of that. Good morning, Keith.
Hear me okay? My audio is still a little choppy.
We got you the last part of that. We'll just try and keep it short. But let's just go ahead and, when Rich can show some of the pictures here, but when I talked to you initially about this movement that you have started called Run2BWell, if you want to look it up, y'all, it's running, the number 2, the letter B, and the word well.org. What you started, one man out of, give us that story again of how it even came to be.
All right. Well, we're going to try the video here. I'm sorry, the audio. I'm going to switch over to my computer. Hold on just one second.
One moment, please. I'm the queen of filling time, so I can talk. Because not only the story of how it started is amazing, your own backstory of what a survivor you are and how faith, you unapologetically include in your story how faith got you through. There's so many layers of your good stuff story. Do we have you now?
Not sure yet. Hold on.
We hear you.
Oh, okay, good. So, thank you so much for having me again. I really enjoyed our talk early in the week. So, everything started for me just kind of organically. I was at a friend of mine's son lost a friend of mine lost his son to heroin. And I was at the calling hours, and I just kind of had this epiphany of, hey, let's do something about, this epidemic. And I was an engineer by training, and I didn't want to go back to school and become a counselor, but I knew how exercise had helped me with my own addictions and my own struggles. So we just kind of started this group where we get together and hang out, connect with one another, and get some exercise, because all of those things are huge factors in people's recovery and with mental health. There's a guy, his name is Johan Hari, and he's done a couple of TED Talks. And one of the things that he said is that connection is the opposite of addiction. So when we can connect with other people, we're much less likely to be depressed. We're much less likely to get into any sort of addiction. And conversely, when we isolate, we're much more likely to do those things. So just that simple connection with other people is really important. And then, of course, the physical exercise is important as well. So that's what we do at Run2BWell.
And the latest project at Grafton Correctional Center. Wow. Just wow. Talk about repurposed lives.
Oh, yeah. We're so excited about that. I don't know if you had a chance to connect with the warden. He's pretty busy, so I'm guessing you did not. But
have not yet. I reached out to him, but I will continue to do that.
Yeah, please do. He's an amazing guy. But yeah, I mean, we go out to this prison yard and we run around in the yard with the guys, and it's just amazing. The souls that I've met there it's just opened my eyes up to like another level of our society and how addiction is affecting this other level, because we all read in the newspaper about the overdoses and stuff like that, but we don't read about the guys that end up getting put in prison and then their families, right? Because they've got kids at home, they've got wives at home. There's we've got another facility that we go to, actually two now, that are women's treatment, and most of those women's treatments facilities, those ladies have children. So now we've got this next generation that's coming up that science shows us that because their parents struggled with addiction, they're like 100 times more likely to fall into that trap.
And the point is well taken as well, that once they're out, the warden believes in creating good neighbors. I loved that, not someone who's angry and so all positive there. And like I said, repurposed lives. I want to remind everyone that not this Saturday, but next, the 22nd, is around the beach. Is that what it is?
Yes, Around the Beach 5K in Hinckley, Ohio. There's a great picture. This is one of our beautiful members. She's actually taking a polar plunge. That's why she's making that face. But so Around the Beach is our 5K. It's our big fundraiser. Hinckley, Ohio. It's a super fun race. That's the shirt from last year. We've got an equally cool looking shirt this year. It's all about activate happy. People will be running fast, and you'll have the fast people coming in and that sort of stuff. But it's more about just getting together and celebrating wellness. So yeah, that'll be next Saturday, the 22nd. Please come join us if you're in the area.
And again, the website, if you're listening in podcast mode, where you can find information on that is running, 2, the letter B, and the word well.org. Keith, thank you so much. God willing, I'll be there next Saturday. I'm so grateful for all that you're doing.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing you there. Is it okay if I hang out and listen to the rest of the show?
I would love that. And feel free. Yes, because you're about to learn. The next two people that I'm bringing in are two. When we say God weaves, now watch them work, make new friends, but keep the old. These are two of, and I don't say this lightly, of my most favorite people on the planet. And I mean that for all the best good stuff reasons. So Rich Smith is he's like the other work half of Lynette Scotese Wojtila. So they are celebrating an amazing anniversary, 28 years of the Integrations Treatment Center, which is known for their transdisciplinary approach to autism, and the SUCESS Approach, which Lynette has. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it, how she provides the keys to these parents to unlock the potential, the God-given potential in these kids with autism. What makes them awesome, as she says, autism, AWE. autism. And I honestly have goosebumps even just thinking about it right now. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's amazing. And because the reason that she's so successful is because she says that she sees these kids as little Christ. That's what she told me the first day we met. We could do a whole podcast on how we met. It was nothing less than divine design. So Rich Smith and Dr. Lynette Scotese Wojtila, I'm going to let you guys take it from here on this great day of the 28th anniversary celebration.
Thank you, Dawn. It is so good to be with you, friend. And yes, it was God designed, of course. I always credit the successes, pun intended, of our children who received the Success Approach model to our great creator. This goodness is already in all of us. This potential is already in all of us. This capacity to learn and love and thrive, it is already inside of us. And the keys you so eloquently refer to, the Success Approach, giving these families and children and professionals trying to help these kiddos, it's an easy fit. The key slides right in, and what is unlocked is pure godliness. It is a beautiful thing to see these kids shine. And I think it's sort of a blessing that people didn't expect, because people on the outside looking in don't have a good understanding of autism. So first and foremost, Rich and I know, and everyone else who knows the Success Approach knows, that autism is all about the brain. And so as an occupational therapist, where I have my doctorate, I understand the neuroscience, right? Every occupational therapist does, but mine specifically applied to autism. So most of the professionals out there in the trenches, the intervention specialists, the speech therapists, the clinical psychologists or school psychologists, the interventionists that are trying to help these kids as aides every day in classrooms or residential facilities, they may not know about this neuroscience approach. And so the Success Approach brings it to them. And we're going to hear a little bit from Rich about how now we have the opportunity to really bring it in a different way because of the amazing state legislators in Ohio. So Rich, let's talk a little bit about how those state legislators did what they did to help us now get keys to more people.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Lynette and I, you talk about weave and watch them work. I mean, God just keeps pulling us back into each other's lives, Lynette, right? I mean,
Right.
Started out parent-teacher relationship, parishioners at church. And then, my wife and I discovered that our daughter was on the spectrum and we needed some help that we weren't getting. And Lynette was right there. So here we are back together again. And then later on, find out that our son is also on the spectrum. So we get to continue that relationship with ITC and what a relationship has been. And then here we are so many years later. I do my doctoral capstone and help Lynette with getting this amazing approach online for parents so they can access the power of the Success Approach. And it was fulfilling. I don't like to do anything halfway. So if I'm going to do a doctoral project, it's not going to be in theory. I want to make sure it comes to life, that we breathe life into anything I'm working on. And Lynette already had this amazing approach that had life to it. It was just a matter of creating a platform for it. And so as it goes, I'm sure, Lynette, you can probably speak to this, but every time she comes out with this brilliance, I look at her and I say, you know what, I've got an idea. And she probably shudders every time I say that now. But I love that you allow me to get it out and to be creative and to work with this. So we started doing this podcast together because we said we've got to get the word out to people that not only do we have this amazing training program, but what it's about and how it's helped others. And so we're going into our third season. We're going to be releasing our next episode on July the 24th. We have comedian Mike Guido on the show, whose life was also touched by autism. And, it's a great way to connect with us. That's why we call it Connect with Success. And of course, Success is this acronym of this amazing approach. Lynette, you want to tell them real quick before I tell them about the big news, what Success stands for?
Sure. It's a methodologic belief. That's a mouthful. What that means is it's a sentence that represents something we believe to be the best method. So our methodological belief is this: strategic use of critical curriculum elicits supported sense making. And what that means is that by just introducing the right combination of tactics or treatment or intervention methods, we are actually eliciting sense making, supported sense making. And that's what the SUCESS approach does, because like Dawn said, it is a transdisciplinary approach. And so what that means is OT, speech, special ed, psychology, all of them are working together with a loving family, of course, and a whole team of aides and other people, behavioral optometrists, nutritionists, whoever and whatever the child needs to really have sense making happen by changing the nervous system. We always say, fire up the wire up. That's a really important concept. So like Keith was saying, the whole approach, he's understanding of how the body and the mind work together to heal and to be the best version of itself. So too does that apply to autism. And so those movements that Keith's using every day when this running to wellness, running to be well, that is really what we're doing. We're running that nervous system, firing it up and wiring it up because it isn't properly wired. That's the problem. So those individuals working in adult programs and residential facilities or in the county board programs or at schools in the districts or private, wherever they are, wherever individuals with autism are, children and adults, they're probably underwired. And so now Rich can tell us about how the government has helped us to be able to reach those people in a very cool, unique way.
Yeah, as you like to say, fire up the wire up, right? Lynette?
Yeah,
I mean,
every day.
getting everything moving, and it's amazing. So, yeah, Lynette and I have talked about this for a long time. Like, we've got the parent training, but how do we get this in there? I, as a teacher, have seen how the SUCESS approach has changed me as a professional. So I go into the classroom and I'm seeing the students that just kind of need that extra time to be ready to receive the information so that they can be the most successful learner they can be. And so how do we get this to the professionals? Well, Lynette and I decided to take a little trip. Can you see the picture, Lynette?
I can.
Yep. This was our little trip down to Columbus, and we were so grateful on the way down to Columbus to have Dawn present because we just felt like we needed that extra support heading in to ask for funding to create the very first successful training for autism, an interprofessional collaborative pilot program. And so we were asking the legislators if we could receive some funding to work on some training materials and to train a pocket of people who are interested in learning more about the SUCESS approach and how to bring it to the kids that they serve. And so we're very excited to announce today, we will be celebrating not just 28 years of the SUCESS approach, but the fact that that funding for SUCESS for Autism was approved by the Ohio State Legislature. So we will be receiving $200,000 over the course of 2 years to implement this new program. And we're going to be able to provide training stipends for those who are participating so that they can learn all they can about how autism can, with teaming, can become an amazing approach to working with those in need.
So the most exciting thing about going forward is access, the word access. Many individuals with autism, children, adults, and everything in between, are starved for the proper intervention. They don't have the resources or access to the models that are really new and improved, so to speak. There's some very commonplace sort of tactics that are used or methods. And I think the world, the country at least according to the government research on autism that did a 5-year study on one of the more popular models, they're ready for something new. They're seeing that the results aren't as great as they had hoped they would be. And so people are saying, what do we do about this? The incidence of autism, I hope you're holding on to wherever you're at. We're holding onto the steering wheel if you're driving, or holding onto that cup of coffee, because I'm about to tell you an incident that will blow your socks off. But when I first entered the field, knew that the incidence of autism was 1 in 10,000. Well, folks, that was 37 years ago. It is 1 in 36.
And that blew me away, Lynette.
Yeah.
1 in 36. But I guess when you think about how often we hear about parents trying to do exactly what you're doing, we hear about it a lot more than we used to. So I maybe we shouldn't be that surprised.
Well, we shouldn't, because we know there's no known cause and there's no known cure. And like mental illness and like addiction, it is brain-based. That we know. However, the most common approach isn't neurodevelopmental, it's behavioral. So it doesn't work. It doesn't get to the root of the problem. That's like scolding a person who has an addiction to alcohol for picking up a drink. Well, that's the surface issue. There's a lot more going on deeper than that. So scold away, but it's not going to change a thing, right? So this external approach, it doesn't work when you have a neurodevelopmental or a neural-based situation. And that's what autism is for sure. And again, because there's no known cause, we certainly need to know more about why it's happening. But you know what? Until we do, and while we have these amazing, oftentimes genius individuals among us, we need to love and care for them much better. So the SUCESS approach, we hope, will become a new paradigm. We need to shift the current paradigm in how we're understanding, educating, treating, embracing, coaching, living, loving these individuals with autism, because boy, do they have more that's in there, so to speak, than most people are able to elicit. So those keys that Dawn talks about are really critical. And I want to say something, actually two things that are so important. I know we have a short time here. When I first talked to Donnie about the model and the center, we talked about, as a corporate person, I don't usually think of myself as an entrepreneur, but I founded the center 28 years ago, so I guess I am. I told her that, most companies are run by a CEO, typically a good CEO. But ITC is not run by a CEO. It is run by a GEO, because God is orchestrating what happens at ITC. So we have a GEO. I might be the director, but I am not a CEO, because we don't need one. All we need is God. And what I mean by that is he has led everything from the inception of what I'm doing to how families are finding us. That's it. From beginning to end, he has had his hand in everything. This is not ours. This is his, because those little Christs that we see walking around the center every day are his. We're just there. We're just the pawns. I always say, Dawn, who's got a great name that rhymes with pawn, we need to be the pawn. And so that's how I feel on this master divine chessboard. And what I want to say about that is how liberating that is, how freeing that is. I don't worry. I do not worry about ITC. First of all, we're called to be joyful. So no room for worry, right? Secondly, it's like, I don't know, God will figure it out. Now, that might sound ignorance, and I don't mean that we are operating blind. That's what most people assume, that I'm operating blind. I say I'm operating from behind. God is leading this. I'm with him. He's my partner. He's the partner for all of us at the center. It is definitely a partnership. He put this inferno in my heart, and I'm living it out. I can't even extinguish it. It's not possible, because it isn't mine. It's his. And so when I let him lead and I'm behind, I'm not operating blind. I'm not stupid. I'm obedient. And that's the difference. And so I'm following behind, along, locked arms with Rich Smith and other people at the center who are endlessly possible to name. If I started right now, we'd be done tomorrow morning. So many people have helped the center. So we're arm in arm walking, but God is leading. And that's how we're doing this.
And it makes it so easy to be on board with you, Lynette. It really does. You're seeing the amazing work that these professionals at the center are doing, and they are some amazing people. You've got to meet some of them sometime, Dawn. It's just so humbling to see the dedication that they have.
I'm going to post in the comments here before we're finished the link to the story that we did. We did a few of them. Maybe I'll put them all, but particularly the one about the twins who came from out of town, unreachable. Did you guys talk about that? You want to talk about that quickly? Because I'm going to put that link in there. I love that story.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when you go, speaking of fire up, what is it? What'd you just
Fire
say?
up to wire up. Yep.
Right. Fire up to wire up. When you go, gah, gah, and he just is empowered. You can see. Yeah. I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. The listeners don't. Click on while you're explaining. I'm going to put the link. Click on to see. It is. Powerful. Really powerful.
Because it evolves before your eyes. So what she's talking about, folks, is there's this clip in the movie that was shot by the amazing producer and director, John Schaefer, fiercely talented man, very dedicated to special needs. Well, I told him I was going to have these twins from Texas move to Ohio And I wanted my camera crews, and he was part of that, to follow them around for a year and make a documentary. So long story short, these 2 children, twins, adopted, parents didn't know when they adopted them, they had autism, come to Cleveland. One is incredibly high functioning, will probably be running NASA one day. And the other is maybe not so much, maybe more challenged to do things like eat and talk and those everyday things. But there's a point in the movie where I'm working as an occupational therapist to facilitate the body and brain connection through the sensory systems, just like we do when we're running, and using that kinesthetic, vestibular, and proprioceptive senses to fire up our bodies. I'm using touch and vestibular movement, and I'm helping this child who does not have language to feel underneath his chin, basically, what it's like to produce the G sound. So I'm having him on the swing. I'm pushing him back and forth. As we're pushing, I'm saying g, g, go, g, g, go. So I'm giving him the language. I'm encoding the word, the verb. So he's really into it. He really wants it. And I stop him and I facilitate and I push up on the outside of his chin, underneath where the soft part of basically the base of the tongue is, pushing it up so it goes to the hard palate, firmly but gently, so that it approximates or touches the part of the mouth where the G sound happens. And lo and behold, he says g, because he felt it for the first time, folks. It's not rocket science.
It seems so basic.
Honor.
Yeah, help him find it. But yeah, and when he learns to eat, I mean, within that exercise that you gave him, within minutes, he learns to eat on his own. It's just, I put the link in the comments. Y'all click on it if you can. And if you're listening in podcast mode, a reminder, you can see all of this stream that we're doing at thegoodsstufffamily.com. We have links to all of it there. I'm going to also post the Keith Johnston story that dropped on Monday. And he's commenting in that he's having some technical difficulties, but he wants to connect with you two. He said, make sure. So there we go. God weaves. Now watch it work. How perfect. That just happened to be that the brain, you guys are on the same trajectory of working and understanding how the brain fires up and overcoming things like addiction and autism. I mean, wow, that's totally God woven. It's got to be.
Absolutely. I think he wants the beautiful body he designed as what I consider to be a temple, to be revered and upheld and respected. And we have to start with understanding something before we can really embrace it and respect it. So yeah, let's understand ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our hearts, our faith, our existence, and work together to make it the best possible versions of ourselves and each other that we can be. So thank you, Dawn, for helping us to get this word out. Thank you to all the legislators in the state of Ohio, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, Governor DeWine, who signed this into bill. It is, guess what, guys? This is House Bill 33. And isn't that Jesus's number? Isn't that when Christ died on the cross?
Come on.
There you go. Honest to God. House Bill 33. Yep. Amen to that.
Wow. Yeah. See, even though Keith is having technical difficulties, he's weighing in.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Healthy body equals healthy brain. Yeah. It all works together. So Rich, you want to explain the picture we're looking at?
Yeah. So it's just so much fun to work with these 2 lovely ladies. I just got to tell you, we're always laughing. We're always having fun. This was our Living in Awe event. So the pandemic, kind of put a kibosh on a lot of things. And so we couldn't do the big gala that they would normally do, but we still wanted to celebrate 25 years of success. And so this was 3 years ago, our Living in Awe event. We did a live stream and we talked about some of the champions of the SUCESS Approach and what the SUCESS Approach was. We had people like Brittany Kosar who stopped in to give us well wishes and stuff. And so this was one of the first events that we did together with this big Living in Awe live stream. Lynette, I'm just going to point out that there are balloons on the set, and I did not hear any plans about balloons for today. I'm a little disappointed.
Oh, we can't even go there. You are my balloon man. Don't even start with me. I have no more energy to laugh at you today, Dr. Rich.
Oh, we got a long day ahead of us. But we have this was one of the first live streams for you, Dawn, that you did. We went to breakfast and decided to broadcast right from the place out there in Menor. We had a good time there. And then, of course,
Market Cafe, I think, or something.
Yeah, you're right. The Market Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, our most recent live stream when we came on to talk about the SUCESS Approach in the podcast as well. So I just want to remind folks, you don't have to wait for training. We'd love to have you in the training. We want to get this out to as many people as possible. It is so potent, folks. I can't even tell you. It just changes everything. Lynette likes to say that it not only works on those with autism, but it works on their husbands and it works on the dogs. And it's a great way to live life.
It's so true because it helps us understand readiness and how we operate and respond to our environment, including people. But Rich, I want to emphasize what you just said. Parents, caretakers, teachers, grandparents, neighbors, whoever, right now today, because of Dr. Rich and his amazing doctoral process, he made this training program that I've been doing for years, decades, available online. So you can be sitting in Zimbabwe, and as long as you're English speaking, you can take this class. And so that's available now online. But the new thing that we want our audience to help us with is this. We need autism teams of 4 people. Ready, guys? Occupational therapist, speech therapist, psychologist, and intervention specialist, also known as special education teachers. We need that group of 4 because we're going to take 5 of them or so, 5 different groups of 4, maybe 20 people total, and train them over 18 months. This $200,000 that the state of Ohio has now written into budget House Bill 33 for us is going to pay them. The lion's share of that money is going to pay these teams of professionals, like little externs, to train with us, bring this model in 18 months back to where they work, whether that's a residential facility, a daycare, a county board, a public school, a private school, wherever there's autism and OT, speech, special ed, and psych working together. We want you and your team. So please spread the word. This is critical that we get the just right teams. It'll be a rigorous application process. It's a lot of money to spend on the just right people because these kids are worth it.
And we talk about celebrate. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say, you can get little snippets of what the SUCESS Approach is all about and its potency by checking out our podcast. It's called Connect with Success with Dr. Lynette Scotese Wojtila. You can find it on just about any major podcasting platform that's out there. Again, it's Connect with Success. So make sure you connect with us so that we can get you thinking about it.
And we bring this all full circle. We start every morning. This is where we celebrate gratitude, the art of gratitude, we call it. And we are so grateful today, Father God, for this investment by the state that I just pray into exponential benefit for families who are living with autism. And I just lift you 2 up as well as these amazing hands and feet of Christ that you are for so many. And I wonder, I think we'll wrap it up. I think if you guys are okay with that, with a quick 30-second soundbite preview for the story that we'll be dropping on Monday. That'll be our God at Work series. This is Pastor Joe West, who is the father of Matthew West, who's a Christian singer in my playlist, my Good Stuff playlist, over and over again. His songs are inspiration. That's an understatement for me. I belt them out when I need it most. And Joe was nice enough to do an interview with us, and he travels actually with Matthew West now as a pastor. So he ministers to people. I've seen it at the concerts. After anyone who wants to pray with him, he's just a super accessible, on fire for Christ man. And we were so blessed to have him on the God at Work series coming up on Monday. Here's a little clip from him. So that's the message, I think, isn't it, Joe, for people listening? Your story matters.
Yes, that's for sure. And hopefully they come away from the concert feeling that their story, their relationship with Jesus Christ, and even the messy chapters, God will use to encourage others.
And I would argue, even especially the messy chapters, the broken.
Yes.
We all agree with that, don't we?
100%.
Amen.
He works best through the broken. So if you're listening, whatever you're up against, know that he can, and he does. We've seen it work all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And y'all, I had to tell myself that yesterday. I had to tell myself, you can't keep quoting that verse and not live it in the times where you're going, I'm going to need some help here. And Lynette reached out to me in a totally God-inspired way. So lean into your friends as you practice. This is what I would suggest as we practice. There's the verse, Romans 8:28. God works all things together for good for those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And we're called to see the good and be the good. So Rich, on your mark, get set.
Let's go.
This has been a Grassroots Good Stuff family production. Big love and gratitude to our friend Carlos Jones, who is the talented voice and creator behind this music that sets the tone for these good stuff stories. Huge gratitude and love as well for our social media director. She is Danielle Folk and is consistently going above and beyond. Follow her at Farmhouse Storyteller. And to the producer, My Trevi, the glue that holds together the moving parts of this God-inspired endeavor. TheGoodStuffFamily.com is where you'll find links for all the things we're doing, including how to be a sponsor of a story. So grateful for our faithful sponsors who have already made so much of what we do possible. And of course, big love and gratitude for you, the listeners, helping to grow this Good Stuff family tree 2023. Welcome to the family.